Each of us must confront our own fears and must come face to face with them. How we handle our fears will determine where we go with the rest of our lives, to experience adventure or to be limited by the fear of it. And that was a quote by Judy Blume. My takeaway from that statement is that it's of high importance to confront our fears because ultimately we're making a choice of opportunity or no opportunity. And I can think of times in my own life when I refused to approach someone because of fear, and I missed out on so much opportunities. And most of the things that I felt, I found out later did not exist at all. And it was just only in my head. So today we're talking about the emotion called fear. And it's day number 3 of our emotional mastery series. Welcome back. And after anger comes fear. And often the two are intertwined. And when you're afraid, you might lash out in anger rather than let others see how unsettled you are. Fear by itself can get under your skin. And once there, you'll find yourself slowly turning to stone because as with fear comes inaction. Let's look a little closer. What is fear? Fear is nothing more than a response to what you feel is a threat. So whether what you perceive is real or not, doesn't matter. The point is, you think you're threatened and your body reacts. Your pupils dilate, there's breathing changes, you feel tension in your neck and your shoulders. Now you find yourself thrown back into that fight or flight reaction. But what I've found with fear is that you're more likely to choose the flight as a way out. And it's not unusual for you to want to run or hide when you're faced with fear. If you think you can control fear, think again. There is a lot of brain chemistry involved with fear, but we'll keep this simple. I want to just highlight some of the things that happen because fear can trigger things in the brain, starting with the amygdala, and this sets up the adrenal gland for action. So then fear now sets you up with a boost of adrenaline, backs it up with some cortisol, and it gets you locked and loaded for action, which you probably likely don't even need. But all this chemical reaction has a definite effect, right? So your body starts reacting and reacting hard to what's going on. But like anger, fear can help you. In fact, fear has played a significant role in helping humans to survive for millennia. So fear is really that emotion that tells you when to hold back, to be cautious, and especially to escape from predators, right? So fear is a survival mechanism, plain and simple, and without it, you might get yourself into a lot more trouble than you already do. So let's look at how fear holds you back. Again, like anger, fear can hold you back at many levels. So let's look at a few. Let's start with physically. Remember all those chemical reactions? The problem with being all set up with nowhere to go is your body reacts to what's going on, right? So if the fear is strong enough, it can actually make you go into shock. And at the very least, it's not uncommon for you to feel very tired after going through a strong fear response. You might shake and you might feel sick to your stomach. You might feel weak overall. Guess what? None of these will kill you, but for sure, they will definitely make you feel uncomfortable. And when you have enough fear over time, that can lead to adrenaline fatigue. And you might start developing some stress-related physical ailments such as insomnia, high blood pressure, even heart disease. So what about the effects of fear emotionally. Fear can definitely take a toll on your mental health, and it can really kick you in the teeth. Over time, fear can lead to anxiety, depression, phobias, and panic disorders. And if things get really bad, you might start to avoid doing the things you fear. And fear can take over and stop you from experiencing life. So we start with one of the basic building blocks of fear. The thought you do not measure up somehow, right? How much do you worry about what other people will think of you? Or that they'll think you're a failure or found out to be a fake? As you can see, all of these circle back to the same thought again and again. And it's no wonder you can end up being paralyzed by fear. Fear is actually telling you not to risk this kind of criticism at all, if you can help it, right? Socially, when you're afraid, it becomes very hard to interact well on a social level. You might find yourself canceling plans and just staying in. And fear will keep you from trying new things, embracing new life experiences, or meeting new people. At work, fear can keep you from taking chances, which might lead to promotion. And this lack of confidence can keep you locked in the same position for years. In relationships, fear keeps you from meeting people or trusting people enough to get into any type of intimacy. All right, so let's look at 3 steps to deal with fear. Examine the thought. What are you afraid of? Just as when you're dealing with anger, you need to try to understand the emotion and why you're having fearful thoughts. Start working on countering the thought immediately. Look for anything which will help, including affirmations, introspections, or just working through whatever is at the root of the fear. Expect the worst. Instead of dreading what fear can do to you, why not spend some time testing your fear? What is the actual worst thing which can happen? It's quite common to blow up fears in our mind to crazy proportion, as I told you at the beginning, right? So what is a realistic worst outcome? Once you know this, ask, what's the best thing that could happen? Remind yourself that the most likely outcome lies somewhere between the two. Next thing you want to do is challenge yourself. The best way to get past the fear is to face them head on, right? So if you're afraid of something specific, what can you do to counter this fear? For example, a fear of heights might be best resolved by solving time in high places, right? So why not ride a Ferris wheel or visit the top floor of a tall building? And you don't have to start with the Empire State Building, right? Just build up to it. And start by visiting less intimidating things and then move on to scarier places until you've worked up to whatever you fear the most. In the end, you're bound to discover how little there is to fear in just about any situation. So remember, you can be your own worst enemy. And that's all for today. Love your comments and always look forward to hearing from you. Stay tuned for our next emotion. If you love what you hear and you want to hear more of these videos, just go ahead and subscribe and you will be notified when the next video is ready. And I will see you then as we meet our next emotion, shame.